we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the association. The Charlie Kirk Show starts now.
They want to see changes to DHS, to ICE, in the wake of the deaths of those 2 Americans in Minneapolis. The changes they're asking for include an end to roving patrols, no more face masks, mandatory body cameras, and judicial warrant requirements. Given what has been happening on the ground in Minneapolis, Mr. Speaker, do you support any or all of those changes?
Listen, there's been tragedies in Minnesota and in Minneapolis in particular, brought about in large measure by the circumstances on the ground. You have the governor and local officials there, in some cases inciting violence. They're encouraging citizens to disrupt the operations of law enforcement, and it sets up a dangerous situation.
But they're calling for peaceful protests.
Well, they are, but they're also saying to resist. They're also saying to, they're doxing the agents of ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And so when you're talking about masking, the reason that ICE agents wear masks is to protect their own identities and protect their own families. And in some circumstances, they've had a price put on their heads effectively by local officials, and that's what's created the dangerous conditions.
Like, focus on the secure our border, deport all the criminals, and that we can figure out now. And I also say now, some of the agents wearing masks, I think primarily that's driven by people are going to dox those people. That's a serious concern too. Absolutely. They can target their families, and they are organizing these people to put their names out there. So don't ever dox people and target their families too.
Well, we're working with the White House and the Speaker on the best processes. But look, the SAVE Act is a great bill, and you just noted, Mike and I updated our SAVE Act, which focuses on citizenship. We added the voter ID, to your point. That's now the Save America Act, and it's a great bill. And we want to move that bill over to the Senate and then force the Senate to act. I want Democrats to have to explain why they want non-citizens to vote in our elections, and they don't want common sense voter ID in federal elections. So we'll see if that becomes a part of the appropriations fight. We certainly believe it ought to move forward, and we certainly believe we ought to stand with ICE. So we're trying to be responsible, do our job, and follow the bipartisan agreements. And by the way, Tom Homan's doing a great job on the ground, restoring some, cooling things and calming things down. But we're not backing away. The president's not backing away. We have a job to do. We need to do it the right way. And we're not going to let these radical Antifa Marxists undermine security and safety for Americans. We're going to stand up for the American people that sent us here to change things.
Tom Homan revealing 145,000 unaccompanied migrant children have been rescued from Biden-era neglect. According to the Department of Homeland Security, the Biden administration lost more than 450,000 children because of its open border policies. And now DHS says it will not stop until every last child is found.
Yes, under the leadership of President Donald Trump, he first secured the border, which absolutely cut down on the flow and in the child trafficking economy. And so that was the first critical move. And their next critical step was to put new leadership at the Office of Refugee Resettlement, which is part of HHS, which is where the children were being trafficked from.
This Justice Department, the FBI, DHS, we have gone after more sex traffickers, more child pornographers, more men who have done harm to children and young women than any administration in history.
They all come in, they were caravanning there, cars bumper to bumper, all of them, the 9 we indicted, all caravanning together. They storm in that church from all directions, start screaming, chants in unison, horrible chants. One man screams, "This ain't the house of God, this is the house of the devil." A little girl later recounted that she thought her mom and dad were going to be killed. Parents were blocked from getting upstairs to get their children out of Sunday school. Some of the lucky women ran out the side door, falling on the ice, legs up in the air. One woman hurt her arm so badly she had to go to the hospital. Parishioners were blocked from exiting the church. Don Lemon, on video, blocked one of them, screaming, yelling at the pastor. That's illegal in this country. When we say God bless America, we mean it. We're going to protect America. And if you do that in any house of worship in this country, we're going to find you, we're going to indict you, and I'm going to prosecute you.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was a cover-up.
Why would we trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy. It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China.
Every day, there's a battle for your mind raging. Information coming from every angle with the will to deceive. Fear not. You found the place for truth. The voice of a generation that still has the will to believe in the greatest country in the history of the world. This is the Charlie Kirk Show. Buckle up. Here we go.
All right, welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show, February 2nd, 2026, here at the Bitcoin.com studios in Phoenix, Arizona. Blake, how you doing?
Oh, doing great.
Happy Monday. Is that a thing? Do we say happy Monday? People don't.
I don't know. I mean,
I'm happy to be here. I really am. I had a great weekend, but I'm ready to
It's an acceptable Monday.
It's an acceptable Monday. We have a huge announcement. I know many of you have been waiting to hear about
3 months.
What's that?
Waiting about 3 months.
3 months to hear about the All-American Halftime Show. We have a major announcement coming at the top of the second hour. So 1 p.m. Eastern. There it is. The All-American Halftime Show. We've got major news to make. Major news. Today is the day all details are going to be unveiled. It's going to be exciting. So we haven't told you who our special guest is, but we have a special guest at the top of hour 2. Do not miss that. It's going to be great. Dan Bongino's back.
He is.
I saw his show this morning. I was trying to tune in while we were doing show prep just to see if he was going to be throwing some jabs and some elbows. I thought it was fairly contained. He was going over his first year, or his only year at the FBI. I thought it was good. Check it out. Our friend Dan. Dan's been a good friend for a long time. Good friend with Charlie. Actually, he gave a shout out to Charlie. I don't usually do this, but I appreciated it, and I actually saw this part, and it meant a lot. 281.
Can't do this show today without a couple of remembrances as well of folks we lost. Obviously, Charlie being first. Charlie was a great friend of mine. We used to discuss everything, the movement, the audience shows. You see this picture of me and him and Charlie. I miss him like you all did. That was my guy there. And he's a good man. I miss that hair. We love you, Charlie. Charlie was the bridge, man. He was. Charlie knew everybody, and Charlie made everybody feel like a friend. Sorry. Thanks, brother.
That was a kind moment. A lot of people sent me that clip this morning, so I knew a lot of you were watching it. So good for Dan. Glad to have him back. It's great to have another sane voice out there in the media ecosystem. Check it out. It's 2 hours before this show. But anyway, this weekend was a huge anti-ICE demonstration weekend.
Well, I feel like that's every weekend.
But they did it all over the country, and there was a bunch we got to go over because the propaganda is ratcheted up to 10 out of 10. It's Minneapolis, Portland, Los Angeles, New York City, San Francisco. We're about to have the Super Bowl in San Francisco, Austin, Texas, Boston, Massachusetts, Chicago, Illinois, Washington, D.C., Tucson, Arizona. Good old Tucson had to get into the mix. There was some, I think there was march in Old Town Scottsdale as well. This way, it was small, but there was people there, and it's just, I mean, we've got student walkouts on Friday. All these high schools, middle schools. This is when it's getting really disgusting. Is when the libs involve your children. They're propagandizing your children to get them to hate the country, hate law enforcement, call them Nazis, Gestapo. But that's what they do. And Blake, I know you've been doing research on this because, it just has to be said that this is the communist playbook. They try and get in the middle of a parental relationship with their kids, indoctrinate them, and especially in this country when you got all these LGBTQ whatevers going around, they don't procreate. So they're going to groom your children to do their dirty work.
So there's the Catholic religious order, the Jesuits, who used to be great. They're very not great now. We don't need to get into all of that. But they used to run a lot of schools. And there was a saying they would say, like, give me the child to the age of 7 and I will give you the man. And the idea was the education you get when you're at your youngest shapes how you are for the rest of your life. Those are the assumptions you carry with you, the moral beliefs that are the hardest to pull out, basically.
And this, by the way, this has been proven sociologically.
Yes, 100%.
A child's personality is essentially formed at age 7.
And think how kind of messed up it is that this is not a thing that historically ever happened before, that once your child is about 5 years old these days, we keep moving kindergarten earlier and earlier, you're 5 or 6 years old, they're in school, they're probably around these teachers longer than they're with you every single day, and then they're with their peers most of the rest of the time. And a lot of these people are devout, sincere, insane, left-wing true believers, and they'll want to recruit your child for political causes, and they'll have some excuse for why that's okay to do in a public school. And they're very aware that if you can get a child to believe, oh, like ICE is evil when they're in 2nd grade, it's going to be very hard to ever pull that moral assumption out. And yeah, it's a classic communist playbook. There was a child, Pavlik Morozov, and he was a boy who was murdered by his dad. And what the Soviet authorities said is he'd been killed because he denounced his father to the Soviet authorities, or I believe he denounced his father and then family members killed him, or what the story was. It was not the full story, but basically the Soviets made a kind of political cult around the idea of children denouncing their parents for having the wrong beliefs. And we're going to get the same thing here. If you're a parent who supports ICE, who supports having a border, who supports deportations, and your child's in public schools, you have to be aware that there are teachers in these schools, counselors in these schools, officials in these schools who are basically telling your kids every day that your parents are bad. Your parents are evil.
Well, it makes me think of, and by the way, you're seeing a graphic there, that video, if you want to put that back up, that is a montage or sort of like a compilation of elementary school students doing anti-ICE walkouts. Elementary students. So we're talking between the ages of 5 and 11 or 12, because that's where 6th grade cutoff. This is truly disgusting stuff, that they're involving your kids in their propaganda and their lies. And you got to think what they did with the trans stuff, right, where they create these sanctuary cities, these sanctuary states for trans. They can rip your children away from you if you do not support their gender identity. Are we at the precipice of getting the same type of policies in blue jurisdictions where they can take your kids away if you support ICE? You got to ask the question. But let's just go through some of these clips here. 246. These are high school students doing a walkout. They're saying, we're Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks. We're for the Mexicans. Go ahead. 246.
Y'all feel like Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks? Yeah, we want to get down here.
Free my corn man.
Oh, I can't go down the path of the corn god.
And this is a Seattle middle school teacher. She starts crying when she thinks, oh, these young kids, they get it. 232.
They just left, but I don't know why it's making me so emotional. Yeah, middle school kids. They know that everything that's going on in this administration it's not okay. And I will never understand why anyone thinks that it's okay.
No, I guess I don't know off the top. I don't know just off that if that's a public school or not, but it strikes me as inappropriate for a teacher to make political videos in a public school at their workplace.
Social media is rotted.
And it's, yeah, they'll never be held accountable in a city like Seattle, but I feel, I mean, I grew up in a Catholic school, so even an ideological one, and generally, I think it would have raised a lot of eyebrows if teachers were super political on any point. I think I knew one of my teachers was a Democrat, and that's about all she said about that issue. And
yeah, I mean, just so many
stuff.
of these. There's so many of these.
It's a breakdown of norms.
Liberal lady cries performative tears of joy. Go ahead. 234.
There's so many kids protesting right here by the gas station. I'm so proud of them. They're all chanting and the police are there and they're so, like, they're all holding their signs. They're so brave. I rolled down my window and honked. Oh my God. No fear! No hate! No
They're so brave. Nothing says bravery like doing what every single adult in your area and what the government, what your local government authorities are cheering you on as you do.
More when we get back. It's bad, guys. There's a 7-year-old in Portland I got to tell you about, too.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie. Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent. It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was a cover-up.
Why would we trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy. It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now.
My name is Kyle. I'm with Real America's Voice because we can chat with each other, the hosts, even management. We are.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. I want to tell you guys about The good folks over at YRefi, they have been helping people get out from under private student loan debt for a while now. They're experts at it, and they also care about you as human beings, which is the key part. This is what makes them different. They actually care. They get up every day, and I told you this before. It's worth saying again. I went into their offices, saw their call centers, and these people are like heartfelt. They get the best of the best. These people are experts at getting you out from under your private student loan that is either distressed or defaulted. And they get up every day and they hope that they get to help you if you're depressed, if you're suicidal, if you feel like you can't get ahead. These are the best people on the planet for you right now. Many clients that call them, they're not even able to make their minimum monthly payments on their private student loans when they first contact YRefi. Most people will decrease their payments significantly. They don't care what your credit score is. They'll even let you skip a payment every 6 months up to 12 times without penalty, and they guarantee interest rates under 6% to help ensure affordability. And they're great patriots. They love this country. They're going to care about you as a person. It's not faceless. Check them out, yrefy.com, YREFY.com, or call them at 888-YREFI34. YRefi, they are the best. Check them out. All right, so I got to get to this image. It went viral over the weekend, and it is an image of a 7-year-old in Portland, Oregon. This little girl looks like just some normal kid off the street. Not off the street, but like you would see them at your school, at the park, at the movies, whatever, at a kid's birthday party. And she's been pepper sprayed or tear gassed, it's unclear, by law enforcement that's trying to do crowd control. Let's play this clip. It's very sad to see it. It's terrible to see it. 282. She says it's burning. Notice that there is a woman wearing a gas mask, rinsing out her eyes. So the parents take her to an anti-ICE protest demonstration that gets unruly. It gets violent. It gets chaotic. Law enforcement tries to do crowd control near a federal building, by the way.
It's so evil what they're doing. It's super calculated because they know what they're doing. They know that, okay, we go to this, we bring children, we get rowdy, thus compelling law enforcement to do crowd control stuff, and then they can go and say, look at these police attacking children. And it's 100% a calculated playbook to undermine law enforcement, to undermine the law itself. And the same way, we made that, I love to make that comparison to, frankly, the way Hamas operates, because they do that too. They encourage children to go out and do things that they know will put them in harm's way because they know it will be politically useful if one of them gets killed by something.
Bingo. These are terrorist tactics. So when we call this like low-level seditious, that's what it is. This is an organized movement that loves casualties. So they engineer situations that will create casualties, that will create images that evoke emotions, that evoke sympathy, and then they weaponize those to degrade and destroy the country.
They are using children as human shields.
They are using children as human shields. But I have so many thoughts. It's like, first of all, don't bring your kids to a potential riot scene. That's child abuse. You should have that child probably taken away from you, parents. Seriously, it's absolutely disgusting parenting. And to Blake's point, they want these images. They want to weaponize reckless parents that are stupid enough to do this, kamikaze Karen moms taking their kids there, thinking that they're going to show them the civil rights movement. They get to be Rosa Parks and MLK. No, you are a disgusting, shameful person. Do not bring your kid to a potential riot scene. Like in Portland, of all places. Have you not seen the videos of Antifa in Portland? There are not moderate, safe kind of, protests.
We know from their arrest records, like 35% of these people apparently have a prior sex conviction of some kind.
Of course, they're all creeps. They're all like sexual deviants. They are all radical communist, godless people that don't care if your child gets hurt. What they want is they want your child to get hurt so they can use that image on social media, on Blue Sky, on Discord, and they want to sow discord. That's the whole point. That's
and so the most important thing is to just recognize that this is an operation, an op being run on you, to recognize it and not fall for it. And there's actually a great historical example because we're in Black History Month, so people have been on X and stuff. They've been talking about Rosa Parks. And you know the story with Rosa Parks, right?
Yep, so, yes, I do. I know the real story.
Well, yeah, exactly, the real story. And so the interesting thing, everyone in school and such got the story where, you know, she was just tired, she was on the bus, and she just said no, wouldn't get off the bus. And that's not really what it was. She was actually a trained activist, and the situation was engineered to create a sympathetic story to bring down segregation. Now, in the case of that, segregation was evil. It entirely made sense for them to do that. But the point is, they were aware of the power of images, the power of stories, and that can be used for good or it can be used for ill. So an example of good is that's why we want to talk about those innocent people who are killed by illegal immigrants. Those stories need to be shared because that is how you further the cause of deporting illegal immigrants who don't belong in this country. There is in politics, narratives matter and images matter, and you have to be aware of both the image you create when you do something, and you need to be aware of the images the enemy is trying to create, especially if they're trying to do something monumentally evil, which they are here. They're using children as human shields to, let us remind everyone, engineer the abolition of America. Because if we don't have a border, we don't have a country.
There's another story involving a child, and we saw this image out of Minneapolis where the ICE agents came up and Liam Conejo, a 5-year-old, was basically the ICE came up on his father. His father abandoned the child, just fled, left the 5-year-old. So, of course, the ICE agent stood by the child to make sure the child was okay. We should have an image of this 5-year-old. So then what happened? The Texas federal judge Fred Bieri, a Clinton appointee, ordered the release of the 5-year-old Liam Conejo and his father from ICE detention in Texas. So then this whole back and forth, so you can see the court ruling there. Judge Bieri's LinkedIn page shows him liking a post about the protests of President Trump's policies. So this judge is actively on social media liking protest posts while releasing this father that abandoned this 5-year-old kid, this poor 5-year-old kid. He's innocent. He's done nothing wrong. He's just a kid. But his dad abandoned him. And so that goes back and forth. It creates this whole social media back and forth of, you know, well, sorry to say this kid's already been released and this judge is right. And, you know, many of these. So the left thinks that this guy was legal, that he came in legally. And J.D. Vance just did a massive fact check on this, because basically what happened during the Biden-Harris administration is they created the CBP One app. And what this meant is that you could ignore all of our laws, sign up on the CBP One app, and get straight into the country. It didn't matter. Joe Biden just ignored immigration laws. So now these people are claiming that this guy, this father, is here legally. Well, he's not. And the Trump administration is setting it right. More kids getting caught up in the chaos created by Democrats. We'll be right back with Rich Barris.
Regularly scheduled programming to take you to Cape Canaveral, Florida, where Secretary of War Pete Hegseth is speaking right now at the Blue Origin rocket factory.
Then get the products into the hands of our warfighters. We are changing the game, and urgency is our currency. Incentivizing speed, incentivizing efficiency, incentivizing competition. And we're not just talking about it, we're funding it in real time. The One Big Beautiful Bill invested $16 billion directly into our defense industrial base, expediting innovation to the warfighter, sending a clear demand signal to our best American innovators like this one right in front of us. And like he would expect from all of you, we expect back to defense and the industries in defense, no more excuses, no more barriers to entry, no more monopolies. Guaranteeing that companies like Blue Origin in factories just like this one can compete. And yes, that means speaking some tough truths, as the president did when he signed an executive order on January 7th, ordering big defense contractors to be held to the highest of standards. No more egregious executive bonuses, no more stock buybacks, no more ridiculous CEO salaries when you can't even deliver weapons on time for the warfighter. The companies we invest in need to prioritize the warfighter. We need to put the warfighters first, just as you put your products every day first. And that's why it's an honor to look out at this great audience here of Americans who appreciate the spirit of that executive order. You see, I don't mind people making lots and lots of money. Please make lots and lots of money. But if you're going to do so, deliver for the American people and the taxpayers the capabilities you said you would deliver. That is something you do here. And so I hope you make lots of money. I'm telling the guy who makes a lot of money to make a lot more money. We love that. I'm a capitalist. We all are. But we need to raise the bar. The urgency of the moment requires it. You sit in the Oval Office with President Trump, and I know you have, sir, you feel it. He gets what we're up against. He gets how important it is. He understands the capability of the American worker. That if we unleash the American worker and American industry, we will outcompete. We will out-innovate. But buildings like the Pentagon have held that back for decades. And with this Arsenal of Freedom tour, we say no more. We will unleash American space dominance. You see, it was President Trump also in 2019 who established the Space Force as the 6th military branch, and he established it for a reason. In this era of warfare, we can't just command the skies and the seas or our hemisphere. We have to dominate the ultimate high ground. We've always known this. Any infantryman knows this. Anybody knows this. Whoever controls the high ground controls the fight. Space is the ultimate high ground. So we will chart the path. We will set the tone. We always have, and we will again. So in conjunction with our efforts from the Space Force, we will continue to ensure peace through strength with our private partners who are critical. Companies like Blue Origin, companies like SpaceX, and others who are critical to ensuring that we dominate space. We welcome those partners, and we will stand shoulder to shoulder with you in these critical efforts. You see, we don't care. You care. But we don't care what company name is printed on the side of a rocket. You should care. I know you hope it says Blue Origin. We don't care what company name appears on, ladders on planes or what company name is painted on a satellite. We just want the best. And we don't care how many lobbyists or accountants companies have. If you create the best, the fastest, at cost, on behalf of taxpayers and warfighters, you're going to win. And that's what President Trump's War Department expects. And I'm hopeful, and based on what I saw today, Blue Origin's going to do plenty of winning. And that's a great thing. That's a great thing for your company. That's a great thing for you. But most importantly, that's a great thing for our country. That's what we need. That's what my kids and grandkids need. They need men and women like you dedicated to your craft. That's what the trigger pullers need, the pilots need, the surface warfare officers need, the medics need. All those guys and gals wearing camouflage need you. They need Blue Origin. They need space dominance. That's our job at the War Department, is to allow you to run and run as fast as you can. And your leadership here knows, and the rest of the leadership across our defense industrial base need to know, this is not about Wall Street. It's not about dividends. It's not about stock buybacks. This is about warriors. And how quickly can we deliver to them as quickly as possible the most lethal capabilities. President Trump is deadly serious. He feels the urgency, and so do I. We must rebuild our arsenal of freedom, maintain supremacy over the space domain. We'll go fast, and we'll move fast every single day. And as I look out at all of you, cold, but heads nodding. I see heads nodding everywhere. I know we have the best workforce in the world, the best engineers, the best entrepreneurs, and the best innovators. This crowd right here on Merritt Island. And I want to express my appreciation for all of you. You have taken and ran with that demand signal. You know what time it is. Your leadership knows what time it is. And that's all we can ask for. And that we deliver that same message across the entire country. Go fast, take risks, and continue to build the best and build in America. The urgency of the moment requires this. So thank you for inviting us here. Thank you for grabbing onto the challenge that President Trump has given us. We are grateful for everything that you do. It's been an honor to meet a lot of you, by the way, who have kids or grandkids that serve. I got a chance to meet a bunch of you who are vets yourselves, who continue to serve. You wore the uniform, you're serving again, shoulder to shoulder with the best. And I'll just end by saying what President Trump said over the radio to the incredible Americans who went to downtown Caracas. He simply said, good luck and Godspeed. Now, I know that you guys don't need luck. You're good at what you do. But Godspeed, because we need the skills, we need the craftsmanship, we need the leadership that you're showing right here. Ultimately, you hand those tools to us, and it's our job to defend you and to defend this country. Because under President Trump, the golden age of American dominance is only just beginning. God bless you, and God bless our great republic. Thank you.
That was Secretary of War Pete Hegseth speaking in Cape Canaveral, All of this is part of the Arsenal of Freedom tour. He's there in Cape Canaveral at the Blue Origin rocket factory, and you just heard him encourage the staff there at that factory to keep pushing, to keep moving forward at a swift pace, as he emphasized the importance of the space race that the United States is currently engaged in. We'll have more throughout the day here on Real America's Voice. In the meantime, though, let's get you back to your regularly scheduled programming. It's the Charlie Kirk Show.
I'm going to give you a smattering of some of the clips that have, become viral moments. Bon Iver, as a lot of people like to call him, Bon Iver, says he is wearing a whistle at the Grammys to honor the observers, the legal observers that are actually illegal, that are obstructing ICE agents in Minneapolis. 2:37.
I want to ask about the whistle. Obviously, it's very prominent. What does it stand for?
It's to honor the observers in Minneapolis. They blow the whistles when they see ICE come in, and they're there to protect their community, and they've been doing it for weeks in 30 below. I think the real work is in the streets of Minneapolis right now, and I'm here to honor them as well.
That fakery. Oh, what does that whistle represent? You know what the whistle represents.
Protecting their communities. Who are they protecting their communities from, by the way? Oh, that's right. Child predators and child sex traffickers, child rapists.
But it's really,
murderers, drug traffickers. I'm so sick of this crap. I just can't get over the amount of lies.
Them supporting, anti-ICE stuff, that's almost predictable, but there's a darker subcurrent to this, and I think this clip actually gets at the best of it. This is Billie Eilish when she was I don't know if I even said that right.
Yeah, I think
when she's accepting her award, 292.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
It sounds like the producers were like, find a white woman in the crowd just nodding along like a lemming.
That's not just, I don't like ICE. That is straight up, America is an illegitimate country. Well, stolen land.
This is why.
They only do this with basically the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Israel. It's like the four major Anglo countries in Israel where they just say, stolen land, your country is illegitimate. The end result of this is not, I have to be nice at the Grammys. The end result of this is you will be dispossessed of your country because the line is you don't have the right for your country to exist.
And this is why every single communist front group always has the anti-colonialist language in it. Every single one. They all parrot the same garbage, the same absolute garbage. And this is another one. Shabuzi. Yeah, Shabuzi. It's a real thing. Yeah, a country artist, by the way, black dude who had a big breakout hit. I think it was last summer.
I'll get right on listening to that.
It's actually a catchy song. I have to be honest.
You say so.
Yeah, it is. Although I'm assuming Caboose is very, very upset with me right now. Yeah, he just let me know he's correct. I am correct. 239. This is Shabuzi. What a stupid name. Immigrants built this country. Let's talk about that on the other side. 239.
Immigrants built this country, literally. So this is for them, for all children of immigrants. This is also for those who came to this country in search of better opportunity, to be a part of a nation that promised freedom for all and equal opportunity to everyone willing to work for it. Thank you for bringing your culture, your music, your stories, and your traditions here. You give America color. I love y'all so much.
Oh, shut up.
What is his hat? He looks like he looks like he's in the Ottoman army or something.
Shut up, Shabuzi. Literally. Like, first of all, this is a nation founded by settlers. This is not a nation of immigrants, okay? We have immigrants when they suit our purposes, when we think it's a good idea to let them in. Illegals, border jumpers, are not immigrants. Repeat with me one more time. Border jumpers and illegal immigrants are not immigrants. They are illegals. We had settlers. They came to a raw and open land. Yeah, there were Native Americans. That's true. But they came to an unsettled, undeveloped America, North America.
They did not. So the people who built America did not immigrate into a pre-existing country.
Civilization.
They built an entire civilization from scratch.
Yep. And guess what?
And it was amazing. And so everyone wanted to come join it.
Yes, absolutely. And that line at the end, they give it color. Okay. Is that an attack on white people, Shabuzi? All the people that buy your records, that play your songs? It's just, we're going to keep going here, but I have so many thoughts.
We haven't done the Superman
we have
Bunny yet.
What's
right?
that? Yeah, well, that's where we're going.
Alrighty.
What's the Bad Bunny clip? I need the Bad Bunny clip, guys.
We have it. It is 2:38.
All right.
Before I say thanks to God, I'm going to say eyes out. We're not savage, we're not animals, we're not aliens, we are humans and we are Americans.
All right, so, okay, this is the same guy who said that you have 4 months to learn Spanish, that he refused to speak English. He won't do a tour in America because he's protesting ICE, and then he goes to the Grammys. So the only place that this Puerto Rican will speak English is in front of a bunch of communists in Hollywood at the Grammys. So, okay, so you'll lower yourself to use the English language to go speak to a bunch of communists in Hollywood. At least let's just say radical progressives.
He didn't make them learn Spanish.
No, why didn't you make the libs learn Spanish, Bad Bunny? I thought you wouldn't lower yourself to speak English in front of people. Very, very fascinating point, but it's a good segue because guess what? We're going to have a big announcement in just a few minutes. At the top of the next hour, we've got a special guest coming on the show, and it's we're going to make some news today, and that's going to be a fun thing for us to do because I know you all have been wondering about the All-American Halftime Show, and we're gonna have the details today, and we're gonna have a special guest at the top of the show. Don't go anywhere. There it is, All-American Halftime Show 2026.
The halftime show of some kind of game,
of some sort of sporting event. Yay, sports!
Before we get off this, so we hit the Grammys, but the important thing is this is not just celebrities. It is a manifestation of an ideology that goes into the political realm. And so this clip also got attention over the weekend, and I really want to flag it. This is Boston's Mayor Wu. And she was commenting to the press, and she said this. Let's show 242.
Every person, every human being has the legal right to come to the United States and seek asylum or shelter.
And so is that not the clearest encapsulation of, you might as well call it the Democrat platform of 2026. Every person in the world has the legal right to come to America. And the answer is no, you don't have a legal right to come to America. That's not what our law says. It doesn't say you can come here and live here some indefinite duration of time until we adjudicate your asylum claim. That's a total invention of the last few years, but it is what they believe. And all I would say, if that is some sort of concept that approves to you, if you have a home and everyone in the world has the legal right to enter your home whenever they want, do you own a home? No, you don't, because everyone in the world has access to it. The entire idea of having a country or having a home is that there is some principle of limited access to it.
Well, and by the way, all of their ideas, they like to sit here and say, oh, America, we have all this money, all this wealth, and we're sort of obligated morally to just give it away to whoever wants to come knocking at the door. Every single idea that they put forward would ruin your home. Every single idea that they put forward removes the sovereignty of we the people over our own homeland. Every single idea they have would sow destruction and chaos and disorder and put your family's lives at risk. They are essentially advocating for the complete abolition of the rule of law. We are a rules-based country. We have to be. The rules keep things in order. They keep people in check. They protect innocent lives. And when you want to just throw it all out, and you want to invite all the, Sharia people from Syria to come over, see how that works out for you. There is a reason that murder rates are down 20%. There is a reason there has not been one single organized Islamic terrorist operations at least successful in this country. Because guess what? We're enforcing the rule of law again. And we're seeing the result.
There's a reason we have Moses in the House of Representatives. Yes. He's the great lawgiver. Without law, you don't have a society.
Yes. Remember, Jesus didn't come to abolish the law, but to fulfill it. The Bible loves laws, actually. We'll be right back. More on the Charlie Kirk Show. Don't go anywhere.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shopped. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Every dollar you give is being matched up to $50,000. Go now to j6support.com and donate.
Welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. We're having fun here. I think Rich got something happened with Rich, so we don't have Rich. Welcome back to the Bitcoin.com studio, your one-stop shop to buy, sell, and trade Bitcoin or cryptocurrency in general. We love those guys. Thank you for supporting the show, and thank you for supporting them, Bitcoin.com. This isn't... Obviously, if you're in this audience, you know how insane these people sound. But you got to realize that to Blake's point, this is part of a larger ideology that is basically wants to destroy the rule of law. They hate laws unless it's attacking white people or rich people or business owners. Just look at Mom Donnie in New York City. So, like, if you're a white property owner, he's going to tax you. He's going to seize the means of production. So those laws they're going to institute, it's called anarcho-tyranny, where you apply laws against some while allowing tyranny and anarchy amongst the others. The preferred class gets zero oversight. Here's Rep. Pramila Jayapal from the Progressive Caucus. Yeah, they actually need a caucus that's progressive, because as if the whole Democrat Party wasn't progressive enough. Kind of insinuating, saying the quiet part out loud here. 248.
Hear you calling for dismantling, abolishing, whatever verb you want to use, ICE. Presumably that's not going to happen in the next couple of weeks as these negotiations are going on. Republicans are not going to agree to that, and they still hold a majority in both houses. What are the specific reforms that you can demand, or that you are demanding? What are the red lines now as a condition of passing these funding bills?
Yeah, I think this is a really important question. You're right. We can't completely do what we want to do without the majorities. But what we can do is insist that ICE and CBP get out of Minnesota and our cities across the country where they are terrorizing people.
Oh, okay. She goes on. 249, and I'll make the point on the backside of this. 249.
We can take enforcement, we can ramp it down significantly, we can put a lot less money into this kind of cruelty, and we can actually hold people accountable for what they are doing. We do not need a military force enforcing immigration law, but I do think that we are at a place where finally we can demand in a unified way real reforms and completely dismantle ICE and CBP and DHS. I'm not sure the DHS really needs to exist.
So there, she said it. She wants to dismantle. And you see the little word swap? And by the way, what's hilarious about this is that they did, the MS Now reporter knew. And she said, well, you're not saying defund, but you're saying dismantle. So now they're going to say dismantle because defund is polling poorly. And speaking of polling, we got Rich Barris here. We'll bring him in for just a second here because we've only got 5 minutes left, Rich. Maybe we'll go a little bit longer in the break. Rich, welcome. I know you were having technical difficulties over there. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
Thanks for having me, as always. Whacked out by the storm, Andrew.
Oh, it's all right. It's all right, brother. So this whole, we got ICE walkouts everywhere. We've got Democrats calling to dismantle instead of defund ICE and DHS. The polling, Rich. Is there tantrums working? How are we looking?
Well, look, you can always count on Democrats to overstep, Andrew. You can, because the truth is, and we talked about this, last week or 2 weeks ago, about how, ICE, the sentiment surrounding ICE in America had been changing. The left's tactics were working, but Americans, this is where they messed up. Americans still support deportations. They still support the programs that Donald Trump backed, that he ran on, and that he was elected to carry out. So I think they mistook, wanting some modest changes, and we talked about them, a couple of them, the masks, right? Getting operational control over areas, and there were modest changes that could have been implemented. Americans are not going to be okay with completely dismantling ICE and no longer being able to deport. That's an overstep. And even if we did see a little shift in the polling, that is very temporary. And once Americans go back to understanding that they're actually attacking their ability to have a sovereign country, it will end poorly for them. So, again, we have these debates in the country. One side gets an advantage, and then they overstep, Andrew. It happens all the time. That's what the left
that
did
makes
here.
a lot of sense. So, Rich, I got 2 questions here, and I got to move quick because we only got 3 minutes left. I want to ask about Insurrection Act. And then I want to ask about the special election in Texas because I think too much is being made of it. But the Insurrection Act, in your opinion, if Trump would have called the Insurrection Act immediately in Minneapolis, squashed it quick, just dealt with it, do you think we would see better polling, better press, better optics, or do you think that the way this has played out has been necessary in some way?
I actually think this is where I probably disagree with a lot of people here. I think that people are looking for fast and decisive action. They let it stew for too long. And this is actually dates back to longer than Minneapolis. I mean, before the new year, going into the holiday season last year, we were starting to see the left. They had complete control over the narrative. We weren't answering anything. We just gave them the ability to discuss this issue and talk about it how they wanted. And then started to raise questions in people's minds, like what crimes are you being deported for? We need a little bit more. We need our parameters to be firmed up here so we understand what's going on. But again, this is where you're going to be an age divide, and I know we're running low on time. I just want to say I think you would have saw some of the older part of the coalition maybe not like it, think it was too much, but it's the young part of the coalition that has to be fired up right now, and they want decisive action. They don't even care if he goes full Franco, Andrew. They need him to move and make decisions.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Rich. I mean, I know people don't want to see armed, military in the streets, but they also don't want to see chaos. They don't want to see libs getting away with it either. When we can all clearly see that this is an op. All right, let's go really quickly to Texas State Senate 9 runoff. Dem wins this, and this is typically a Republican held seat. Is it a big deal? I tend to not think so. It's probably not promising, but I think it's kind of a nothing burger. What's your thoughts here?
Yeah, I got to disagree on that. And it's not one thing out of, it's not a one-off. This is a string of underperformances by Republicans being driven. Again, it's going back to the last question. We have a huge part of the Republican coalition that just does not want to vote. They're not interested. They're definitely disaffected. And Tarrant County is a loss because this is the largest red county in the country. And it was one that had been shifting a little Democratic before, when Biden won, and then it swung back hard. Republicans do have an infrastructure there. There's ballot chasing ops there. There's precinct activity.
I get it, Rich, but the turnout was 94,000, and in 2024 it was 400,000 and 339.
But Andrew, why didn't they turn out?
Well, I just don't think anybody was paying attention, which is a huge problem. I totally get that, and I think that's the problem. Rich, I gotta go, but we're gonna continue this conversation next time with the great Rich Bears. Thank you, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
All the best, brother.
We'll be back.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shopped. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
I'm a J6er. I spent 1,143 days in prison.
About a year in prison.
We were prosecuted, persecuted.
J6ers have been treated like terrorists.
And we need your help.
Stand in the Gap was founded to stand in the gap for J6ers working to rebuild their lives after being incarcerated.
For just $10 or more, you can help these patriots get back on their feet again. Every dollar you give is being matched up to $50,000. Go now to j6support.com and donate. They tried to shut them up.
There's no guarantee to free speech.
They tried to cancel them.
Deplatforming works.
They even threw them in jail.
Peter Navarro,
Steve Bannon,
now in prison.
But they couldn't stop them.
There's not a prison bill that will ever shut me up.
They call them rebels.
Basket of deplorables.
They call them rogues.
They claim to guns or religion.
And they say they're outlaws.
These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
War Room presents Rebels, Rogues, and Outlaws.
You set out to take Vienna! Take Vienna!
The national bestseller by longtime Bannon producer Dan Fluette. Take a journey through the pictorial history of War Room. In a culture that celebrates the weak, show your support by standing with the rebels. Go to doitfluette.com or scan the QR code on your screen. Use the code RAV20 for 20% off your order. Stand with the rebels and never back down.
Bates here with your Real America's Voice news break. Thanks so much for being here with us. Congress is working to get the government fully funded. Procedural votes are expected as soon as today, with passage of the appropriations bills happening potentially as soon as tomorrow. In the meantime, President Trump is back at the White House right now. That's also where RAV congressional correspondent Benny Ray Harmony is. Benny Ray, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Terrence. Yeah, it is lots of noise happening here on Capitol Hill today and expected tomorrow as well.
All right, so let's start there with Capitol Hill and this budget thing. It's drawn out. Obviously, last week, President Trump brokered a deal for the Senate to pass these appropriation bills. Now it's back up to the House to kind of reconfirm and get them passed. Speaker Mike Johnson says he thinks he's got the votes to get this thing over the finish line. What's the buzz, if you will, though, around Capitol Hill as it relates to that?
Yeah, Terrence, well, the biggest thing is that a lot of people expected this partial government shutdown to end today, first thing this morning, after that funding ran out at 11:59 on Saturday night. But, you know, Hakeem Jeffries, he said that the Democrats, he said they would not partake in making this a smooth and fast passing of these appropriation bills because they're holding up on those DHS funding. But the thing is, Terrence, is that bill, that DHS appropriations bill, that isn't even in those 5 minibus bills that were passed by the Senate on Friday. So now we do expect, like you said, Speaker Johnson said tomorrow he expects he will have enough support for those votes. But Terrence, I want to point out there is only a 2-person difference in the majority. The GOP only holds 2 seats, above the Democrats. And so this is looking to could potentially be a little messy. There's so much noise happening from, Schumer and the Senate leaders to the House leaders and what Johnson is saying and what President Trump has said that he will ensure the shutdown does not last long. It's really up in the air as of now. Like I said, the 2 seats is the big thing. Now, Anna Paulina Luna, she mentioned, great congresswoman, by the way, but she is also saying that she will not vote to pass these appropriation bills unless Johnson adds in that SAVE Act, which we've heard a lot about election integrity. So I honestly, Terrence, I am not quite sure what that vote is going to look like.
I'm curious if there's any wrangling within the White House, and maybe the White House is keeping its cards close to its vest. But any information from the White House related to whether they're making phone calls, whether they're encouraging lawmakers who may be on the fence to kind of push them back over the fence?
No, Terrence, we have not heard anything on that front. It's pretty light here at the White House today. The president does not, as of now, have anything open. So we have not been hearing a lot from lower press, from that press office in Caroline Leavitt. But I assume at that 3 p.m. signing today that we do expect here at the White House, hopefully the president will address in some sorts this government shutdown, because I know a lot of people are worried about this and they don't want to see that 42-day shutdown again, like we saw in October and November. truthfully, Terrence, the country cannot handle another shutdown of that sort. And then looking forward 2 weeks, that is when the DHS funding is going to run out. So can we expect arguments? Can we expect conversations? You know, what is that going to look like, truthfully?
No, absolutely. You mentioned this signing. At this point, we don't know exactly what the signing will entail. But if, in fact, it does open up to the media, I imagine that the focus of the questions will be about this government shutdown and how to potentially move forward. You've got to imagine that's what all the questions, or at least a large part of the questions, will focus on.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that is the focus of a lot of reporters, a lot of correspondents here at the White House today, is that government shutdown, because usually we hear a lot from the president. But even these past, even last week, Terrence, we were in that cabinet meeting with President Trump. He touched on the government shutdown right at the beginning. He said that he is not going to let it shut down again. But we did see, this weekend it did shut down. But he didn't even take questions from reporters that day in the cabinet meeting. And so what is he keeping his cards close to his chest? We know President Trump, he in some ways does like to surprise people, and he likes to talk about things once he has a solution to them. I think that's one of the greatest things about this presidency is just the fact that when he speaks, it's real, and it's about something that's truthfully happening right now. So I hope he speaks on that today and we get more answers for you, Terrence.
Absolutely. Benny Ray Harmony reporting at the White House. We, of course, will have more coverage for you throughout the day.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Hey folks, it's your friend John Rich. I co-founded Old Glory Bank because we heard too many stories about people getting canceled by their bank because they didn't agree with their politics. The government wanted to know where you shop. If you bought a Bible or you shopped at a sporting goods store, you're probably on a list. We created Old Glory Bank because America needed a bank that would protect their privacy and security. Exercising your constitutional rights is not a criminal activity, and neither is loving your country. At Old Glory Bank, we stand with you.
Welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. Hour 2 is underway, and as we hinted in Hour 1, we have a major announcement to make and a special guest as well. And here to help us make that announcement about the All-American Halftime Show is none other than Kid Rock himself. Welcome to the show, Mr. Rock. How are you? Welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show. We're so honored to have you, so excited to have you. And this is a major announcement. This is the first announcement about the All-American Halftime Show. It's happening right here, right now. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited, man.
Well, exactly. You gave, and we just put it all out on social, so this is just happening as we speak. And I read your quote, and I told your team I thought that this was just absolutely amazing. So I'm going to read it. This just went out on the press release that just hit the wires. It says, "We're approaching this show like David and Goliath. Competing with the pro football machine and a global pop superstar is almost impossible. Or is it? He said he's having a dance party, wearing a dress and singing in Spanish. Cool. We plan to play great songs for folks who love America." Tell us what you mean by all that.
Man, I spent some time crafting that quote. I'm not sure if I can top it right now. It's pretty much
pretty good, man.
It's just like, it's like I said, it's like, you're competing with this, this powerhouse machine called the NFL, and in a certain way you're competing with it, and in a certain way you're not either. I think it's kind of I'm actually drafting an op-ed right now that I think I might release on Wednesday. Kind of how did this come to be? Why did Turning Point have to have an alternative halftime to the NFL? And I think it's, to sum it up quickly, it kind of goes back to what Taylor Sheridan figured out, years back, that half this country is just underserved entertainment-wise, and was just really, so many of us got tired of just, having Hollywood tell us how things are going to be and hearing all their political this and that and trying to, shove their agendas and the trans thing and everything down our throats. And it's like, I guess we're just going to have our own stuff for right now.
Well, that's exactly right. And you're going to be joined by Brantley Gilbert, Lee Brice, Gabby Barrett, and you are going to be the headline here. Kid Rock performing at the All-American Halftime Show. So for those, what was great about this, by the way? So I've been kind of seeing some of the behind the scenes here, and originally we listed all the artists in the press release, and this many Grammy. We just hit the Grammys in hour one, which is ironic, but because they're all anti-ice or whatever. But so we send this over to your team, and we get this note back. It's like, Bob does not want to be associated. Here's what you could say. And it was like, okay, so we said global superstar and Waffle House Legend Award winner. And I was like, that is it. I was like, so we stripped any reference of the Grammys and all your awards next to Kid Rock. And we instead we have Waffle House Legend Award winner. And I just thought that is so perfect. That is like exactly who we need headlining this made for TV concert. And it's like, this is the thing. I agree with you. It's kind of a David and Goliath thing. I love that framing because this is a machine we're going up against, right? But really it's the American people have been underserved, and they've got this big arena. There's big stadium, and it's going to be far away, and it's going to be, the cameras are going to be a mile away from the action. This is going to be intimate and exciting, high octane, high energy, and it's going to be made for TV. It's just a totally different experience than what you're going to get from the other guys. And you can say what you want to say. I have to call them the other guys and that other guy, but I just think that what we're offering is so unique, and you are the perfect person for this. I couldn't be any more excited.
You go into these things, I'm very good friends with Lee Brice, with Brantley Gilbert's a good friend. I do not know Gabby. I love her. I love her music. But you kind of wonder what's everyone else doing, because I go into these things and I really spend a lot of time and effort putting something together, and it's going to be something very familiar, and then I'm going to do a complete 180 on people, and I'm kind of excited about that. And then Lee Brice sent me something that he's going to do on there. I was like, wow, that is powerful, and that's good. And it was so happy for me just to hear that, to know that what we're going to do is go out there. What a crazy concept, and just try to play some great music for people who love this country. It's that simple. That's the only way we kind of, take care of our audience. I guess you could call it maybe get a win. I'm not sure who our competition is. I mean, I saw some of the Grammys last night, kind of had some people here, so we're talking in between, but it was on in the background. I was like, at one point I just go, wow, this is like literally a gathering for people with the woke mind virus. You just look around the room and you're like, wow, man, this is terrible.
Totally. I mean, honestly, it feels like you can't even imagine what media they're consuming, what lies they're listening to. They're anti-ICE, they're anti-law enforcement. That and they you could feel this virtue signaling just constantly with them. They think that they really are doing something good, and really what they're doing is they're destroying so much of what makes this country safe and good, the institutions that keep us safe. And then meanwhile,
it literally feels like. And I read this book, and it was this doctor. She was kind of explaining the generation and going through mental illness and stuff. It's it's literally come to be like, if you don't have some sort of a mental illness or claim to have one at some level, or something's wrong, woe is me, everything's bad, you kind of feel left out of this elite, Hollywood elite group. It's just sad to see some of these people. I mean, I look at that poor Billie Eilish girl. I'm like, just look at her. She looks literally sad, just unhappy with everything in life. I'm like, that's got to be horrible. I know you might want to look You might want to look into Jesus, girl.
That's exactly right. Well, and speaking of which, we're going to have, there's elements of faith. There's going to be country music, rock music. There's all of this stuff is going to combine into this one beautiful concert. And I don't want to give too much away, but it's going to be all over Turning Point social. So our Turning Point YouTube, X, Rumble, of course. We'll probably throw it up on some other social media accounts that we control. Daily Wire Plus, TBN, right here on Real America's Voice is going to be covering it. We love the guys over at Real America's Voice, so thank you, Parker and Rob, for covering that. OAN, NTD, and then it's going to be on Sinclair as well. So there are lots of places you can check it out. You can see it on the graphic there. But if you're watching the big game and you don't want to be fed a bunch of woke garbage or worry that the guy's going to come out in a dress or celebrate like the queer agenda, you just want something that the family can enjoy, but it's going to be excellent and like high octane entertainment. That's what we need to do. This is where you can go.
Absolutely, man. And God bless you guys for putting this together. When I first heard, you guys just kind of announced it and said, yeah, Turning Point's going to do an alternate halftime. I'm like, oh yeah, right on. Yeah. Somebody needs
I'm
to,
excited.
You know what I mean?
I'm excited today too, because people would always ask me, and I said I kind of actually didn't know what was going on. They were very tight-lipped about the organization of this, I will say. But we wanted just to get people hyped up. Yep. So one of the guests we have performing, Lee Brice, he did a tribute to Charlie a few months ago, and just kind of give people, if they're not familiar with the artist, an impression of what they're about to hear. Let's play 300.
And usually we do a couple of other songs, but tonight I would like to play a song. And dedicated to Charlie Kirk and what he so adamantly stood for, and I don't want to see a picture of this country without God in it, and it seems like every day is trying harder and harder to do that, but I got faith that it ain't gonna go that way.
And the song he ended up playing was When Kingdom Comes.
Yeah, amen. And could you speak to kind of the faith element of this too? It's not going to be like necessarily a worship set or anything, but I know that's important to you as well. And are you planning on integrating any of that into your set?
Man, I would love to tell people what I'm doing, but I think the element of surprise is really what's going to make it special, because no one's going to be expecting this 180 that I'm going to do. I'm trying to make it as unselfish as possible, but at the same time, just play something great. I'm like, there's nothing, that we can do, that I can do. And trust me, I'm going to come out and hit them with the Kid Rock, like boom, bang, but that's going to stop very quickly. And I'm going to take it back to music, because one thing I know for sure, no matter what Bad Bunny does, what the NFL is doing, nothing is more powerful than a good song. Nothing. So if you just stick to playing good songs, that's the win right there. And of course, there's an aspect of there's a very aspect of faith in this song that I'm going to do. It's not my song. I'll tell people that. It's not a song I wrote, but I did write a verse for it, which is very, very faith-based.
I love it. I don't know what else you can say here, but I know that you've got a lot going on right now. You've got different announcements you can make. Is there anything else you can tell us about your plans for the next couple of weeks, months, any other releases that you want our audience to know about?
Well, funny enough, we're going to release the song that I'm going to perform for the Turning Point, All-American Halftime. So we're going to release it at midnight that night after the Super Bowl. Great. And then we're going to go out and do, I think we're making an announcement this Friday. We're going to do some shows this year. Not a ton. I think it's maybe 10 or so.
Awesome.
So we're going to, I think it's called the Freedom 250 Tour. And it's we're going to announce that on Friday. And that's going to kind of lead to this huge thing that we're going to do in July 3rd in a stadium, which is going to be, I'm looking at, I know everyone's going to celebrate America's 250th birthday, July 4th. I want to put together the biggest party for America on the eve of July 3rd, kind of like New Year's Eve, ring a Liberty Bell and shoot cannons and fireworks off and play some music for folks. So, a ton of new music on the way with some very, very cool special guests. I think people are going to be wildly happy and surprised at the same time.
I love that. So everybody, you have a mission. you need to tune in to the All-American Halftime Show. When the other guys are doing their sort of queer celebration, whatever, speaking Spanish, whatever you want to do, that's fine. But we're going to be celebrating this country. It's the 250th anniversary of this country, faith, family, and freedom, with an absolute packed lineup of Kid Rock, obviously. And we've got Brantley Gilbert, Lee Brice, and Gabby Barrett, an amazing show. And then your second mission, after you tune in, is to take Kid Rock's new song and make it #1 across all the charts at midnight after the Super Bowl. So please do that. I've heard so many good things about the team working with you on this project. You've been an absolute blast of energy and a breath of fresh air. You get it, and thank you for everything you're doing to help make this a great experience, a great event, and really successful.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys for having the conads to put it on. You know what I mean? I know it scares a lot of people in my business. Let's put it that way.
That's a whole story for another day. But I mean, when you're going up against the machine, it's a machine. So God bless you, sir.
A lot of people in my position. There's a lot of big acts that are very scared of that machine. I'll tell you that. You already know. But
I do know, and eventually there'll be a time to tell that story. But right now we're just going to focus on all this good energy, and you're a big part of that. Thank you, Kid Rock. God bless you.
Thank you, guys.
All right. That was awesome. We'll be
Bates here. I want to take you to Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talking about addiction and mental health.
People with mental health problems, as soon as possible, we find them on the street. We move them from crisis to detox, to treatment, to housing, to employment, and ultimately to reconnecting to communities and to self-sufficiency.
Well, as you can imagine, everyone here is very excited about the Great American Recovery Initiative. And so hearing more about it and understanding how you're taking this on and moving it forward is really extraordinarily important and very exciting to all of us who are concerned about these issues. You had talked about the Streets program. Tell us a little more about Streets. And then sober housing, I think, is also a very important part of this that I know you're very committed to as well.
The Streets program it begins with a $100 million program that's going to be distributed to 8 pilot programs, regional pilot programs, where we will coordinate the government. The insurance companies don't have any. The insurance companies have your life with them is very short-lived. You move from one to the other. They're looking at they're looking at the costs over 1 year. And we need to extend that periphery, the periphery of that horizon, so somebody is looking over the costs over 3 years and the entire cost. Right now, the fiduciary for addicts is CMS. CMS only is looking at the cost savings to the healthcare system. That's all they're concerned about. And nobody's looking at the broader cost savings. So for example, law enforcement. We're bringing all of these agencies together. We're going to do a study that looks at the entire cost of the addict over the lifetime of the addiction, so that we can demonstrate savings over time to justify the cost of this program. The Streets program, as I said, it's a $100 million program. It builds on a $45 million program that we gave this year for sober housing. And I'm working with Scott Turner at HUD to revolutionize sober housing. I'm a really strong believer in sober housing. I think we need to not just treat the addict and then put him back into the environment that was making him sick or contributing, let me put it this way, contributing to his sick illness. We need to give him some stability, or her some stability, and from there, they can get employment, they can develop relationships, they can develop independence, and then they can move on. But you need to give them that. Without sober housing, treatment is going to fail.
Yeah. Well, this is a whole new approach, as you're describing, which is also so tremendously important. And the difference between other programs that from the past and sort of where we're going into the future. under your leadership, and it really is a very important and exciting part of this. We'd also talked a little bit about integrating some faith-based initiatives within this whole arena to help sort of address these issues. Talk a little bit about your thoughts about that and how that plays a part of it.
Faith-based initiatives work, and that's, you know, they're scientifically proven to work. Oh. And they do that by reconnecting us to a community, by expanding the relationships that the addict has. And as I pointed out, addiction is a disease of isolation. Cut off those relationships. And God talks to human beings through many vectors, through each other, through organized religions, through the great books of those religions, through wise people and the prophets, and through nature. Nowhere with such texture and grace and joy as through other human beings. And when we cut off our relationships with other human beings, we lose that access to the divine. And that is a healing power. We are in a spiritual malaise in this country. And we need to give people access to all different ways of reconnecting with something that is higher than themselves. And, you know, I'm reminded of Bill Wilson, who is the founder of the 12-Step movement. Mm-hmm. He was in a program before he launched AA, which was called the Oxford Group. And the Oxford Group had 8 steps that are, from which the 12 steps of AA are taken. And those 8 steps were intended to induce a spiritual awakening. And Bill Wilson had that spiritual awakening, and his compulsion to drink, which he'd been fighting for 40 years, suddenly just went away, just miraculously. And he could not imagine that he would ever take a drink again. And then during that 6-month period when he was sober, he put together a deal to buy the primary vendors for the Goodyear and Firestone tire companies. And it would have the deal was going to make him a millionaire and set him up for life. This was the height of the Great Depression, 1932. And he went out to Akron to ink the deal. And somebody else had gone in and stolen the deal from him. And he had put all of his finances in that deal, and he was crushed. He was standing in the lobby of the Mayflower Hotel in Akron, and all of a sudden, all of that compulsion to drink came back to him full force. And he was 20 feet away from the lounge, and he could hear the ice clinking in the glasses, and he could hear the laughter of the patrons, and it was screaming at him to come in and get a drink. And on his way to the lounge, he had the central revelation of the 12-step programs, which is he realized the only way that he was going to stay sober is if he helped another alcoholic. And he went, instead of going into the lounge, he went into a phone booth, and he got the yellow pages, and he looked up preachers, the Salvation Army, sanitariums, and hospitals looking for a hopeless alcoholic that he could talk to. And he eventually found Bob Smith, Dr. Bob Smith, who had tried everything to quit drinking, and he was able to persuade Bob Smith to meet with him. And when Bob Smith came into the meeting, he said, "You got 15 minutes," because he'd heard it all. He never heard it from another alcoholic. And they ended up talking all night. And that was the first 12-step meeting. And they both decided the next day the only way they're going to stay sober is to find another alcoholic. So they went to the hospital, and they found a guy who was literally handcuffed to a bed. And he was the third member. And it was that this realization that the only way that the spiritual awakening works, but it's just a daily reprieve. And if it's not renewed every day through service to other people, service to other alcoholics, then you'll lose it. And so the 12-step programs teach you, build that muscle of you've got to do something to serve another human being every day of your life. And that's how you teach people to reintegrate in the community, because they get that spiritual and emotional return from service that they then become addicted to. And they begin building relationships and friendships. and a sense of community and stability in their lives, and it gives them a purpose in their lives. And that's how you precipitate a spiritual revitalization, a spiritual renaissance, by reaching out to addicts on the street and then giving them stable lives and teaching them ways to be of service every day.
It's extraordinary. Well, this also is, we have, as a nation, have a crisis around social isolation and loneliness. And I think that adds, as you've just described, to these issues around addiction, et cetera, that are so prevalent. But the opportunity to reach out, as you've described, is extraordinary, and yet so simple to do.
I don't think it's simple, and I get very
simple in terms of making the effort. I get
very intimidated from talking to Patrick.
Yeah, right.
Like an encyclopedia.
Simple in
all
that
these
you need
ideas
to make that
about how to do it, but they all involve, doing these. It seems like you've got to change, everything the federal government has been doing forever, and I
which I think you're able to do. Yeah.
We can do that. We have to. There's a tremendous amount of low-hanging fruit.
Yes.
And but I'm hoping that when I leave this job in 3 years, that we will have changed the trajectory and changed public attitudes toward the treatment of addiction, and at least developed a lot of models in the states for outcome-based care and for integrated care, so that we have something to build on.
Yes, and that's happening so much, as you know, in the physical health arena. So paying for value, incorporating all of those aspects.
That's what we're trying to do across. CMS, and we have an amazing team. Dr. Oz is really extraordinary, and he's completely committed to this, as everybody is. Marty McCary and Jay Bhattacharya and all the people who work there are committed to that model.
Yes, well, and the outcomes then will be quite different than they are today, where you're just paying for a service.
Yeah, and that's just a death spiral for us.
Death spiral, yeah.
We have to figure out ways to reconnect our children to a national purpose and to communities and to a sense of purpose in their lives.
Yes.
And create bridges to bring people together again across all these atomized landscapes.
Right. One of the challenges I think that we all face as well as the workforce, the opportunity to provide these services depends on a robust workforce. What are things we can do to support developing a better, a more comprehensive workforce? Because right now we have a lot of shortages and problems that really prevent us from doing certain things.
You mean in caregiver for addiction specifically?
Yes.
That's part of the funding that we're putting in, and we're putting in hundreds of billions of dollars.
Right.
And a lot of it, about about $500 billion, will go to the states in block grants, and that is a lot of that is workforce retention, building a workforce. It's that's one of the things that we've got to make an enormous investment in.
Yes. And I know we've talked about this before, but I know personal stories are so important with respect to these issues because people relate. And I know your personal journey has been so extraordinarily important. Could you talk a little bit more about how that's affected where you're thinking and sort of what direction we're going in as a result of what you've experienced personally? Because I know that has really shaped your approach and your values.
Yeah, I was a heroin addict for 14 years, beginning in my early teens.
Yeah.
And I've been 43 years in recovery. And these, 12-step programs saved my life. It provides all the gravities around which all of my life is oriented. My family, my friendships, the work that I do. I go to meetings every day. I don't have time to go to meetings. I've got 75,000 employees, and I've got a big job and a lot of people relying on me, and I really don't have time to do it, but I go anyway, no matter what. And when I first came into the program in September of 1983, my first meeting, I asked the guy, how long do you have to keep coming to these meetings? He said, just keep coming till you like it.
Till you like it?
Yeah, and I've been coming 43 years. I still don't like going to meetings. There's always someplace I'd rather be. I'd rather stay in bed with my wife. I go to an early morning meeting. But I go every day because when I go, the rest of my life works. And for me, it's like brushing my teeth. I don't look forward to brushing my teeth. I don't enjoy the sensation. But I do it every day because I don't want to live with the consequences of what happens when I don't do it. And I need to maintain that that spiritual center. Everything that I've done in my life, that I've done out of personal ambition or aspirations or an acquisitive impulse or materialism, has been wormwood and bile. And everything that I've done that is consequential or enduring has come from that spiritual center. And we're all hybrid beings. We're half spiritual and half biological. And a lot of times our biological being doesn't have the best judgment. And the challenge is, how do you walk with one foot in the spiritual world and one in the biological world? And the answer to that is that you have to be disciplined about keeping yourself spiritually fit. Mm-hmm. And so I make a big effort to do that in my own life, but it also gives me an understanding about what that takes to, for an addict who's out there, who's hopeless, mm-hmm. who's irritated, discontent, who's lost all of their touch with their own humanity.
Yes.
And how do you bring them back into society? And how do you give them a chance to fulfill their God-given potential and give them a sense of purpose in their lives? And, it begins with these little steps of giving them the opportunity to be useful to other human beings.
Right. The other area that you've mentioned oftentimes is the importance of prevention. Working to make sure that we can prevent these things from developing into the crisis points and crisis response as well. Any thoughts about?
Yeah, this is just like in physical medicine. The longer you wait, the more expensive and the more insurmountable the job becomes. And when we know the kids who are going to become addicts. It's pretty easy to identify them early in life. They're acting out. They're having contact with the criminal justice system. They're getting thrown out of schools. They're getting in fights. And you see these things happening, and we need to start doing the interventions then. Mm-hmm. When there's still neuroplasticity in their brains, before they've internalized the pathology and locked themselves into behaviors that are very, very difficult to break later on. But we can break them early if we identify them early.
Yes.
And, that's one of the issues with one of the aspirations of the Streets program, to find people as early as possible, but also we're taking a number of other steps to make sure, to identify kids in foster care who need help, mm-hmm. and provide them with help before they have encounters with the criminal justice system, with hospitals, with medical care, et cetera.
Right. So as you look ahead, Secretary, thinking about the future, in 5 years in America, what progress do you hope you'll see as a result of this work? How do you see that progress moving forward for our?
Well, I'm hoping that we've at least by then gotten a series of models around the country in states and cities of things that work, so that we know how to do them. We know how to bring the insurance companies in.
Yes.
We know how to do early intervention. We know how to unify the response across all the different agencies. And we know we've developed ways of following the addict for several years and having somebody take ownership of that addict and say, okay, if I pay you as a rehab, I'm not going to pay you, a daily rate so that the guy relapses in 2 months and you get paid again. I'm going to pay you one cash disbursement for him for a year or for 2 years or 3 years.
Yes. And really manage the care.
Right. And you manage all the care.
Yes.
You're responsible for that individual. So if he shows up on your doorstep again, you're going to lose money.
Right. Right.
And that gives the economic incentive, the financial incentive to that rehab to do everything in their power to make sure that addict does not return. And when you align the economic incentives with the healthcare outcomes that we're looking for,
right,
behavior will change. And that is what we need to do. And that misalignment, is pervasive throughout the healthcare system in this country. And it's why we're paying so much for healthcare, because people are not getting paid to make patients well. Everybody in the system, the insurers, the hospitals, the doctors, the pharmaceutical companies, are all making money by keeping us sick. And, those economic incentives filter down and they change human behavior. And we're not going to do anything without the easiest way to change behavior is to rationalize the financial incentives. And once you do that, everything else is just going to follow naturally. Now, people are going to be incentivized to identify the interventions that actually work.
Yes.
And to implement them. And the companies that don't do that are going to go out of business. And the companies that do are going to stay in business and flourish. All the things that we're chattering about, nothing's going to work unless we realign those incentives. It's absolutely critical that we do that. So, we all have our thinking caps on every day about how do we do that? How do we do models for this? How do we, how do we rationalize the economic incentives so that they're aligned with good healthcare policy and good health?
Yeah, well, that's, I think everyone in this room, and certainly the work we're doing for Action for Progress under Patrick's leadership is really focusing and aligned with exactly what you're saying. So we are really grateful to you for your leadership and grateful that you're moving forward with all of these initiatives that we can work with you on and be supportive of and really transform the mental health addiction care that we provide in this country. It really is an exciting opportunity.
Thank you very much, Tom.
We're about out of time. I just want to say one personal thing at the end. The Secretary and I have known each other for, most of our lives, actually, since we were kids.
At least 50 years.
At least 50 years. When I was talking about doing this, my colleague said two things. Don't call him Bobby, and don't start talking about Hickory Hill and Hyannisport stories. So we stayed away from all of that. But what we didn't talk about and we touched on was, I think, the thing that I find most inspiring by this whole discussion, Secretary, is one, your passion and commitment to transforming the system and providing that leadership. But also, if you think about those who are suffering today, right now, struggling the way that you did in the past, and looking at sort of that time to where you are today as the Secretary of Health, influencing the health of millions of Americans, the inspiration and hope that provides is beyond description. So thank you for all you're doing, and we look forward to working with you into the future to achieve these extraordinarily important goals that you've aligned.
Thank you very much, Tom, and thank all of you.
Let's give the Secretary a round of applause. You're the best. Give me a hug, man. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Well, that was really an inspiring conversation.
That was Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talking about addiction and mental health. Now, let's get you back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Just like kind of paying bureaucrats in D.C. to do their work. So they were essentially hiding it from Congress and making it look like it was actually donations to poor people. So the African Development Foundation, even one of the board members, he was the head of the, Herbalife, that it's like a pyramid scheme that pushes like nutrition supplements. He was the head, he was on the board of this government agency. And so they tried to push this for-profit pyramid scheme on African peasants so that his company could make more money. There were allegations of all kinds of racial stuff where the general counsel, they accidentally hired a white guy to be their top lawyer. And he was like, well, you guys are just violating the law. Like, here's all these laws you're breaking. You're just like hiding all this money. Like, the stuff you're doing is insane. And so they wound up pushing him out and like calling the police on him, just really corrupt stuff that gave the sense that like they were all in on hiding some really bad things. And so this week, the CFO actually pleaded guilty to something that I had said in my story, which is he was taking bribes from this particular company, which was in Africa, but it was created by an African American, I guess you could say. He was a former federal employee who moved over to Africa, and he was still friends with the guy at this agency. So he gave him a contract, and some of it went back to him. And then the rest was used just kind of to enrich his friend, and then also to pay bills, including bureaucrats who were living in D.C. would get this random like wire of money coming from Africa. So the foreign aid was just sort of this pass-throughs. And so he pleaded guilty, and then the Senate had a vote to abolish it over the weekend. But actually 11 Republicans voted against abolishing this agency. They voted to table the amendment that was brought by Mike Lee. And this is people like Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham and stuff like that. And so USAID is gone. This agency is way more corrupt. Granted, it's a lot smaller, but it's like, it's quite a story. I mean, it's just wild, the stuff that they were doing. But we had 11 Republicans, vote against actually abolishing it.
Yeah, that's just, you're correct. It is at least smaller, but yeah, and you're a government efficiency reporter. 1 minute here. Just can you give a general perspective? What's the scale of how this is going on, and how should Americans think about this? I know obviously we've had this push on government efficiency. We've found a little bit of it, but the sense I get is just there's this absolute feeding frenzy. And if you're not in one of these preferred groups, you're just kind of left out and treated as a sucker.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we were told when DOGE was making inroads that the DOGE was pointless because so much of the spending is in mandatory non-discretionary spending like Medicaid and defense. But it turns out that Medicaid and defense are super fraud-ridden. And I think that a lot of it hides behind privacy. But once you actually see it with your eyes, it's like this is just blatantly scamming, and the government is just paying out in a way that a charity would never do that, because it's just clear that it's not even helping anybody. But if we can't even get rid of an agency whose CFO admitted that he was corrupt, and they blocked DOGE from coming in, and it wasn't because they had this moral high ground, it was because they're hiding their crimes. If we can't even get rid of 8A, which the Alaskan Republican senators are against that because the Eskimos are in on the grift, or the people that pretend to be Eskimos, I don't know what we're doing here.
Yeah. Luke Rosiak, thank you very much. Check him out on X at The Daily Wire, or check his book, Race to the Bottom, online. Thank you for joining us.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead. Scan the QR code now.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history.
All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. It's been an eventful Monday. I feel like the show has flown by.
Yes.
I've had a great time. And, you know, I have to say, you know, here at the Bitcoin.com studio, I have to say that having Kid Rock on the show was like checking a box off my, you know, we actually had tried with Charlie a while back and it just didn't work out for whatever reason. He was at our inauguration, you know, inaugural Eve ball or whatever. So I got to meet Bob there, Bob Ritchie, Detroit hip hop scene. Now he's headlining our Super Bowl. So I did it. Our All-American halftime show.
Our unrelated Vegas
our big sports, yay, sports
halftime of the evening
thing with, you know, yeah, for the All-American people. Anyways, we're excited about that. It was a great time. And then to see another state step up and support our Club America chapters is huge. Montana, thank you, Governor Gianforte.
So we're at Texas, Florida,
Tennessee, Indiana,
Oklahoma,
and Louisiana, maybe. I think. We
don't want to leave anyone out.
Anyways, and there's more coming. That's the other piece of this. And so, you know, when you get depressed about all those student walkouts and the brainwashing that's happening, just remember there is a whole counter movement going on, and Turning Point's playing a huge role in that. And so we're just grateful for the partnerships, and we have more news being made that'll happen this afternoon. We've got Dan Patrick in from Texas. It's gonna be great. We'll see him in just a bit, and we're gonna have to pre-record because he's here today, but we might show it on the show tomorrow. So some more fun stuff happening there. But today, and this will be a good final segment for the show today. Today marks
an important 10-year anniversary. Do we have that clip ready yet, guys? Otherwise, I'll have to hype it up while they get it.
Wait till they get it. But this is an auspicious anniversary.
An auspicious anniversary. It's crazy. I will say I've got to filibuster a bit while they get it ready. We're reaching these 10-year anniversaries for so many Donald Trump related things. It's a little crazy for me to think that a good third of my conscious life has been with Donald Trump.
It's been in the Trump era.
The Trump era, and how everything has just revolved around him since he came onto the scene. Not, you know, just everything, even when he's not in office, that's what everyone's talking about. That's what the press is most obsessed with. And it's almost easy to forget what it was like when he was still this insurgent candidate, that we were going into the 2016 election. And of all things, the big favorite was George W. Bush's brother, Jeb Bush. And
good old Jeb.
George W. Bush's administration did not end well. He had record low approval ratings by the time he was leaving, other than like Nixon during Watergate. He got us into multiple quagmire wars, and yet they were going to trot out this guy to run, and they'd say, oh, that's going to be our nominee in 2016. And what happened over and over again is he was not adroit enough to handle President Trump. And today, 10 years ago, I think was the day where I and many other people realized, like, Donald Trump is going to win the nomination, and he might win the presidency after that. Yeah. It is Please Clap Day.
This is the Please Clap Day was a turning point in American history. Pun intended, very, very intentional. And what's interesting about this, it was the death knell, unbeknownst to many, but you said you picked it up. You could feel it in the ether, but it was the death of the neocons. The GOP had been dominated by warmongers, the invade the world, invite the world crowd. And who is more, I guess, symbolically important in that than the Bush dynasty? Right? You've got 2 invasions of Iraq, an invasion of Afghanistan, 2 wars that lasted on and on and on, cost trillions of dollars, countless American lives, countless Iraqi lives and Afghani lives. I mean, this is a really important moment in history. So please take it away. Show us the clip, Blake.
Alrighty. And so this was the week before the New Hampshire primary. And I believe Donald Trump didn't win the Iowa caucus, correct? He lost it. And so this is New Hampshire primary, a week out. Jeb Bush has a lot of money. He's been doing all this. And then he's speaking to a small crowd in New Hampshire. And this happens. Clip 304.
It up is creating a more dangerous world. So here's my pledge to you. I will be a commander-in-chief that will have the back of the military. I won't trash talk. I won't be a divider-in-chief or an agitator-in-chief. I won't be out there blowharding, talking a big game without backing it up. I think the next president needs to be a lot quieter, but send a signal that we're prepared to act in the national security interests of this country, to get back in the business of creating a more peaceful world. Please clap.
Please clap. And with
that's more painful, actually, than I remember.
Please clap. And at that, everyone thought,
low energy Jeb.
Oh, low energy Jeb.
Low energy Jeb. And you know what's ironic?
A week
watching
later,
that back.
just real quick, a week later, on the 9th, Donald Trump, he won 35% of the vote in New Hampshire. He beat John Kasich. Remember that guy? Beat him by 20. That guy got second.
John Kasich is basically a Democrat.
Basically. Yeah. And that was the first primary he won. He won a bunch of them after that.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history.
What a history. 10 years. You know, it's funny. You think about these kids walking out of high school right now. They're 18. They've basically, the majority of their life has been dominated by President Trump. Even when Joe Biden was president, it was still dominated by President Trump. Their whole political conscious lives have been dominated by one man.
We have staffers on this show who are young enough that they only faintly remember Barack Obama getting elected, which is really uncomfortable for me because I voted in that election.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, that's a wild stat, and actually I was looking at some of these. There's a basketball player that he was the youngest person to score 49 points. It was an SNL clip. It was going viral because he's a white guy, and and the SNL guy who's black goes, "This is a really bad start to Black History Month because you have this 19-year-old white guy scoring 49 points in the NBA." Anyways, I was looking at his birthday, and it was he was 2006, and that was the first thought I had. I was like, he was not born. When he has no memory, he wasn't even alive when 9/11 happened. Yeah, we're getting that far away from
that's really Gen Z. That's actually the easiest way to remember what Gen Z is they don't remember 9/11. Sure, it's like 1998. If you're 3, you still don't really remember those things.
1,000%. It's just it's wild. Anyway, so this is it's been a big day here. It's been a big 10 years for the country, and there's no doomerism allowed on the Charlie Kirk show. There's none of that.
No black pilling allowed.
No black pilling, even
if it's
for Blake.
Really alliterative with one of the people on the show's name.
Even with Black Pill Blake. Black Pill Blake is not even allowed to black pill. And you do a pretty darn good job most of the time.
I do my best.
Very proud of you.
I do my best.
You try and be positive.
Charlie was also very good at that. Charlie, certainly you and I both know he could feel down a lot of the time. And it was always internal. He said, no black pilling. He would find the upside. He would find the way to learn. He would find the way to move forward, because that was your duty. Your duty was not to whine. Your duty was not to grouse. Your duty was to learn and to fight and hopefully win. But the winning wasn't the point. Doing your duty was the point.
You don't fight because you know you're going to win. You fight because it's the right thing to do. That's why we do things like the All-American Halftime Show. That's why Club America is spreading all across the country to get high schoolers and Gen Zers who don't even remember 9/11. But now they remember Jeb Bush because we just told them about it. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.
At Real America's Voice, we know that you want to be a part of something bigger. That's why we've teamed up with AMAC, the Association of Mature American Citizens, to build a real community of folks who care about faith and our country's future.
There is no force on earth that can stop us from saving our country.
Want to be a part of this movement? It's easy. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now. That's right. Grab your phone and scan the QR code to join the AMAC and Real America's Voice family today. By scanning the QR code, you'll unlock exclusive content, connect with like-minded Americans, and be first in line for events that celebrate our shared values. So don't wait. Scan the QR code. Join us today and become part of a community that stands for faith, family, and freedom.
Real rights, they come from God.
With AMAC and Real America's Voice. Go ahead, scan the QR code now.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. They tried to shut them up.
There's no guarantee to free speech.
They tried to cancel them.
Deplatforming works.
They even threw them in jail.
Peter Navarro,
Steve Bannon,
now in prison.
But they couldn't stop them.
It's not a prison bill that will ever shut me up.
They call them rebels.
Basket of deplorables.
They call them rogues.
They claim to guns or religion.
And they say they're outlaws.
These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
War Room presents Rebels, Rogues, and Outlaws.
You set out to take Vienna. Take Vienna.
The national bestseller by longtime Bannon producer Dan Fluette. Take a journey through the pictorial history of War Room in a culture that celebrates the weak. Show your support by standing with the rebels. Go to doitfluette.com or scan the QR code on your screen. Use the code RAV20 for 20% off your order. Stand with the rebels and never back down.